Welcome to Part 2 of the Contact Basics tutorial series for ProTracker Software's Advantage. During this tutorial, we will be discussing entering contacts, particularly entering a family of contacts, in a very efficient manner. We will also be communicating with contacts using Merge to Word and also showing you how to create quick envelopes and mailing labels for one contact at a time. We will also show some contact reports. In Part 1 of Contact Basics, we added a new contact using the Add a Contact feature from the Contact drop-down menu. We will be using the New Contact Wizard feature next. This feature works well when you are adding a family of contacts. If we want to add a prospect family, John Doe will be the first member of the family. He will be a prospect. He lives at 12 Oak Drive, and his zip code is 03842. Notice that Advantage automatically looks up the city and state that are associated with the zip code that we entered. He has a phone number and an email address. You may enter as much information as possible here, and you may not know everything such as his date of birth or social security number since he is just a prospect, so we can skip those fields for now. Let's go on to add a second contact. Note that the home address remains the same, and we can now add John's wife, Mary Doe. We will make her a contact instead of a prospect, and I will explain why we would want to do that in a little bit. Notice that Advantage assumes a relationship of spouse, although you can select any other relationship from the relationship pick list. Let's go ahead and add a child now. Again, the home address is maintained, so we don't have to keep entering it over again. Let's say that they have a son named Jason Doe, and he will be another contact. Let's go on and add a second child, Jessie Doe, and she will be a contact as well. When we click Finish at the bottom, we will be taken to the contact profile for the first contact entered, John Doe. From the contact profile, if we click on the Associations tab, we will notice that the effort of entering these three relatives and linking them to John has already been done for us. If we right-click on one of these relatives and go to their profile and click on their Associations tab, we see that the reciprocal arrangement has already been entered. John and Mary are Jessie's parents. So that is one big plus in entering a family of contacts at once using the New Contact Wizard feature from the Contacts drop-down menu. Now, if you remember, we entered John as a prospect, and we did this for a specific reason. When you are managing your prospects, you don't want to manage both husband and wife if it happens to be a married couple. Instead, you want to be able to manage the prospect as a single entity. Now, if this were a client, we would have a single entity to manage, but since this is just a prospect, here is a trick that we suggest you use. In the salutation field, enter John and Mary, and in the envelope field, address this correspondence to both of them, Mr. and Mrs. John Doe. Now when you send a communication to John and Mary individually, or all of your prospects in a prospect group, for example, it will be addressed to both John and Mary. You will only have to manage one prospect, John Doe, on the Marketing tab. More information on the Marketing tab from the Contact profile can be found by looking at the Marketing tutorial available for download at ProTracker.com. Let's discuss now how to send correspondence to John and Mary Doe. As we look at John's contact profile, we see that his home address is entered here. We want to make sure that each contact in the database has a primary and mailing address entered. In this case, since John has only one address, we can assume that this is his primary and mailing address. If we right-click on the home address for John Doe, we can create an envelope. This is a business envelope, and we have a return address, which you don't have to print if you already have pre-printed labels. You can also generate a reply envelope, which is addressed to the firm's address and is from John Doe. You can also generate MapQuest, Yahoo, or Google Maps of this address. You can also create shipping labels.